Hey guys, welcome to Trail and Kale Running Co. I'm Helen, and in this review I'm taking a look at the Merrell Morphlite trail running shoes. In this review, I'm going to be going over the key features of the Merrell Morphlite, what kind of runner and what kind of running style they're best suited to, how they perform when running on the roads and the trails. As you can see, I'm trail testing them here in Northern California near Trail and Kale HQ. And finally, I'll give you my summary, whether they're worth the money. In this case, they cost $100, so they're very well priced for trail running shoes. So we're going to see what $100 in trail running shoes from Merrell gets you. Now these Merrell trail running shoes are designed for door to trail. So these shoes are designed to be capable whether you want to run on roads, whether you want to run on trails, or like a lot of people do, you want to go from door to trail or just run on a road to a trail. So you're doing a mixture of those surfaces. And these shoes have been designed to be capable of being comfortable and not wearing down too quickly when you run on roads in them, but also being capable and grippy when you run on trails in them. Now, if you're not familiar with Trail and Kale Running Co., we're a website, trailandkale.com, and YouTube channel, which you're watching here, where we share in-depth independent running shoe reviews just like this one, other running gear reviews, trail running and road running tips, and free training plans over on trailandkale.com. Before we get stuck into my in-depth review, let's take a quick look at the key features of these trail running shoes. First off, for my size, a US woman's 7.5, they weigh 7.5 ounces, which is pretty light for a trail running shoe. These have what I would say moderate cushioning, so not maximum cushioned, not really minimal shoes. So for that level of cushioning, that weight's pretty reasonable. They've got a 6.5 millimeter heel to toe drop, and the stack height is 20 millimeters at the front, and you guessed it, 26.5 at the back. So a pretty low stack height, which helps with you feeling close to the ground, particularly when you're trail running. That can be important for stability and proprioception as you're running over uneven terrain. Now, the types of trails these shoes are designed for are what Merrell describes as light, and what I would describe as the trails that you see here in this video, where I've taken these shoes out from pavement, as you saw earlier, to these light trails, which is kind of forest trails, sort of buffed gravel paths, nothing too technical, nothing too steep. Now the reason for that is these shoes are not built for that, so the way the outsole is designed and the structure of the shoe, in particular in the upper, is not designed for the more rugged terrain where you might expect to have a more structured, beefier shoe to be able to firstly protect your feet as well as support you and help you stay upright when you're navigating that technical terrain. So with that said, most people are not going to be running on the really technical stuff. Most people are going to prefer the sort of trails that I'm running on here. So these shoes are going to appeal to a lot of trail runners as well as road runners who maybe just want to hit the park every so often or go on a gravel path as part of your run, and you want something that's going to be capable of gripping and keeping you upright on there as well as being comfortable to run on the roads. The fit on the Merrell Morphlite is what I would describe as true to size. So stick with your usual size that you are normally in your running shoes, or otherwise you're just regular trainers, and you should get a really good fit in terms of the length. In terms of the width, they're medium width, so for regular width feet, these are going to suit you really well. There's a bit of extra space in the upper, which I'll show you here so you can see how that looks. So if we take a look at the upper here, this is a soft jacquard woven mesh, and I've got medium width feet, and you can see my toes here and here, so I am filling the width of the shoe in the toe box here. There is more space in the midfoot. If I wanted to get the laces tighter here, I could pull the mesh of the upper in a bit tighter around my foot for a slightly more snug fit. That might help with a little bit of extra support. There's a bit more support in the heel, of course, to give it structure. Another thing to note on the subject of the width of these running shoes, if you do have wider feet, then they are also available in a wide version as well as a regular version. While we're looking at the shoe, why not take a look at some of the other features that Merrell's put into them? So firstly, I think they're super attractive, as you saw in the flyby that I did earlier. Really love the colorway. There are obviously other colors that aren't pink if that's not your thing, but I love the bright pink laces, and they actually came with another set of white laces, so you could switch them out if you want to. They've included this little elastic loop, which is great for tucking your laces in if they tend to come undone. You can use that. Not all running shoe brands include that in their models, but likewise with this little piece of webbing that helps keep the tongue in place so it doesn't slip from side to side. Steering around to the front of the shoe here, the outsole wraps around over the toe, so that does give you a little bit of protection. It's quite firm here. You can see I can push it in, but I do have to apply a bit of pressure, so you do have a little bit of protection here if you do kick a root or a rock on, the sort of stuff that you see here. There's sort of hidden things that you could quite easily stub your toe on if you don't have any protection. Let's take a look at the midsole then. So this is an EVA foam midsole, the medium cushioning here, a reasonable amount of support throughout the length of the shoe. No loop to pull the shoe on at the back, but you do have this little tab, so you just have to be careful not to tread down the heel counter here, which is going straight up. As you can see, it fits pretty nicely with my no-show running socks here. I've got a lot of protection around my Achilles, which is important, and I've also got a lot of space to allow my ankles to move on both sides of the shoe, so there's no digging in or pressure here. Before we get on with my performance review of how these shoes actually perform when you're running on the roads and the trails, let's take a quick look at the outsole. So the outsole here has a combination of lug depths. You've got shallower lugs in the center of the shoe, where you may be more likely to be running on the road and landing in this area of the shoe, and then you've got deeper lugs on the outside edge of the shoe. So it's interesting, that's quite an unusual design, and you may think, well, how does that work? But actually these are going to help you grip into the trails when you're on the more uneven terrain. The outsole, if you can see, kind of goes up at the side here, and if you look at the shoe from the top down, the white area is where my foot is, and you've got this black area which is where the midsole and then the outsole stick out to either side of the shoe, which provide extra stability. You compare that to my thumb, it is quite wide, so those deeper lugs that I just showed you are residing on these edges of the shoe. If you're enjoying this review, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more running shoe reviews just like this one. So diving into my performance review of the Merrell Morphlite then. The outsole I've been really impressed with. The combination of lugs on the outside and the inside, like I mentioned before, the shallower lugs on the inside and the thicker lugs on the outside, is providing a lot of grip on the terrain, the type of terrain that you can see behind me here, where I've got loose leaves, rocks sticking up, a few roots sticking up that you might need to stand on. I've tested it on a few, including some wetter sections, which are getting harder to find now here, now the trails are dried out. But a reasonable amount of grip there. I'd actually feel pretty confident in terms of the outsole. I'd feel confident taking it on more technical terrain, but I wouldn't necessarily take these shoes on more technical terrain because I don't think the upper is going to be able to stand up to it. And let's remember, these shoes are not designed for that. So we like to test the trail running shoes here at Trail & Kale Running Co. to the max, and we will try and test them on different terrains, even those they're not suited to, just to provide additional insights as to why they're not suited to that, and to help us understand the sort of materials and the construction design that have gone into the shoes, what works best for different types of running, so we can relay that to you in our reviews. Now onto the midsole then. Like I mentioned earlier, the midsole is what I describe as a medium level of cushioning, so I'm getting a good amount of responsiveness out of these shoes. So the combination of the responsiveness of the midsole and the reliability of the outsole is giving me a lot of confidence running trails in these shoes. Now with that said, I wouldn't necessarily run long distance in terms of like a marathon or longer distances than that in the trails in these shoes, just because I feel like I need a little bit more support, maybe a little bit more cushioning as I step up the distances and start to be running for, you know, well over 4 hours at a time. Let's talk about the upper now. So I really like the upper design. I love the jacquard mesh. It's very breathable, it's very soft, and it will accommodate a range of foot shapes. It has got some give in it. It's got a good amount of flex, so you don't ever get any of those issues that you do with some shoes, especially when they're new, where they kind of dig into the top of your foot when they bend because they need to soften up and break in a little bit. You don't have any of that. These shoes are super comfortable out of the box. However, where the upper is not going to stand up is for the more technical stuff where you need the additional support and stability as you run. It is a soft mesh. You do find that your foot moves around a little bit inside the shoe just as the upper flexes. So this isn't moving within the shoe. This is just a feature of how the shoe is being constructed. And that again lends itself, as Merrell described the shoe as a light trail running shoe, door to trail shoe. That's why this upper is designed in that way. It doesn't need to have that additional structure, which will add weight and ultimately will add cost to the shoe. And if you don't need that in your shoe, why add weight and why pay more for your running shoe? Okay guys, you reached the end of my Merrell Morphlite review. Wrapping this review up then. What do I think of these shoes? As you can tell, because you've watched this video through to the end, I'm pretty impressed with these shoes, in particular the outsole and the design and the attractive good looks and that attractive $100 price tag. Merrell Morphlite is a great value trail running shoe. If you're looking for a running shoe that you can wear on the roads to the trails, or light trails, and you don't want something that's too heavy, too rugged, too expensive, and you want it to look good as well, then these shoes are going to make a really good choice for you. Love how they look. I'm a big fan of the pink laces. I wore my matching pink cap to complement the shoelaces, but you don't have to do that yourself, and you don't have to get the pink version either. For more photos of these shoes, including details on where to buy them, head over to the link in the description where I put a link to my written review, which has got the photographs there. That's over on trailandkale.com. Thanks very much for watching this review. Really appreciate you tuning in and sticking around to the end as well. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more running shoes just like this one, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.